Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, let's take a look at a shell scripting task that I recently delivered for one of my clients. And this task is focused on cost optimization. The reason for doing this video is very simple. A lot of you have reached out to me with a concern that Abhishek, we learned shell scripting from your videos or from other sources, but what we lack is understanding of real world use cases. Now, because of this, we also find it difficult to add shell scripting skill to our resumes, even though we know how to write basic shell commands, how to write basic shell scripts, but because of lack of understanding of real-time use cases, we can't explain that in interviews. If you also share the same concern, this video is for you. Because in this video, I'm going to explain the shell script task. I'm going to explain the complete use case. Along with that, I'm also going to explain how you can add this to your resume. This video is going to be complete beginner friendly. Make sure you watch it till the end. Cool. Let's start with the use case first. What is this task or what is this project that I worked on? Basically, this client that I worked for had a very good observability setup. So they had metrics, traces, logs in place. And for logging, they were using ELK stack, Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. So the Logstash was collecting logs from various sources and storing that in Elasticsearch. And this worked brilliantly for them because they were able to perform log analysis and it helped them in the incident management process. Every time there is an issue or every time there is an incident, so they can go to ELK stack, perform the log analysis and understand what is the issue, debugging and troubleshooting. But their management had a concern with respect to ELK stack costing. I can't reveal the customer name and I can't reveal the numbers, but they had huge costing for ELK stack and they were looking at ways to optimize or reduce the cost of it. So their ELK stack is not a managed ELK stack, but self-hosted ELK stack, where they had cluster of virtual machines on which they hosted this solution and they connected this to Elasticsearch database, which is again connected to some volumes. Because they had a lot of inflow of logs, application logs, infrastructure logs, everything. So they had both compute as well as storage costing on the ELK stack. Now, when they were looking for optimizing or reducing the cost, I thought of taking a look at what logs they are storing in the ELK stack. So this is where I started first looking at different logs. They were storing application logs. This is important part of the video. Please try to understand. So they were storing application logs where they had more than 100 microservices and each microservice log they are storing in the Elasticsearch, which is important because application logs are primary point of debug. So they definitely need it. Along with that, they were also storing Kubernetes control plane logs. Again, fair enough. And they were also storing infrastructure logs, where one of the primary things that was, you know, leading to huge amount of log flow is Jenkins. So they have Jenkins at different level of environments, lower environment, pre-production, production, and definitely they had 100 plus developers. Every time a developer creates a commit, every time a developer creates a pull request, Jenkins build is triggered and logs are created. So they have thousands of log files every day just from Jenkins. And these log files are stored in ELK. Now I was very curious about this. Like I was thinking, can I reduce the cost somewhere here? Along with that, they also had other business related applications and all, where these logs are also stored in ELK, like finance and all the other things. So this is something we cannot optimize or reduce. So my focus was on the infrastructure, especially on the Jenkins part. Why? Because in Jenkins, they had lower environments, like I said, like the UAT environment, staging environment, pre-prod, and prod. And pre-prod and prod, they occasionally trigger a build. Most of it is coming from UAT and staging. 100 developers, even if they create 4 to 5 commits a day, simple, even dummy commits, they are leading to 500 plus log files. So I asked them, like, I asked the management, like, okay, do you perform any log analysis on the Jenkins logs? Like, do you ever go to ELK stack and search for errors on the Jenkins logs? They said, no, it is mostly developers. Uh, every time they create a commit, and if the build fails for some reason, they instantly look at it. Email notification is also sent. Slack notification is also sent. So they debug and they create another commit. Now, this is very important point for me for reducing the cost. So they said they already have Jenkins logs. If there is a build failure, it is sent through email, it is sent through Slack. Above that, they are storing every log in the ELK stack. And they are not performing any log analysis. They are only storing the logs just as a backup or just for the purpose of safety. In case something happens, and if they want to come back and triage issue at the lower environments, they just have the Jenkins logs as backup. So by looking at all of this, I suggested them to move to S3 buckets. So out of all of these, where ELK cost is involved, I just removed the Jenkins part and I connected Jenkins logs with S3 bucket. Now, this is a very, very interesting decision because Jenkins server is a CI server, right? So whenever developers are creating a commit or they are creating pull request on GitHub, let's say, the Jenkins CI is triggered. Already they have the failure builds sent on, let's say, email and sent on Slack, and they are not doing any log analysis, right? Why they are storing the logs in ELK stack? Only as storage and backup, right? They are using ELK stack for Jenkins only for storage and backup. What is the cheapest storage solution that is available? S3. So I said, let's integrate Jenkins with S3. We will not use any plugins. We will not use any extensions. We will not use any complex program. I said, let's just use a shell script where towards the end of the day, like I said, there are more than 1,000 builds, right? Every day towards the end, we will, on the Jenkins server itself, we will host a shell script or we will place a shell script. This gets triggered every day night. It goes to the Jenkins server. It goes to the directory where Jenkins builds are stored. right? So if you have used Jenkins in the past, basically, I mean, I can quickly show you here as well. So on this machine, I have Jenkins installed just to show you people. So if we go to var lib Jenkins, okay, we have a folder called jobs. Within this job, so there is, if there are 10 jobs, all the 10 jobs will be here. And if we go to that particular job, that job has the log files. Inside the builds folder, we will see build number one, build number two. If there are 100 build numbers, or if there are 100 builds, you will see logs of 100 builds. Okay, so this is the log file. So what our shell script is going to do, it will go to the Jenkins directory where the builds are there. Let's say there are 100 builds and each build has 10 log files just for today. Okay, because it is, the shell script will only focus on the builds for today. It will take 100,000, whatever is the number, it will loop over the log files and upload that log files to the S3 bucket. Again, tomorrow, when there are builds, the shell script will be executed either manually or through the cron job. And again, it identifies 500, 600, 700, or even 1000 log files and upload that to the S3 bucket. Now, S3 will be the storage for the log files. What is the another advantage of S3? S3 also comes with lifecycle management, right? We learned all of this in our AWS course. S3 also comes with lifecycle management. What does that mean? That means if there is infrequently used log files, or if there is some log files you think that, okay, they are already older than 3 months, we might not use it. If you think that way, you can move the log files to Glacier or Deep Archive, where the costing is even less. So this way, customer had seen great amount of cost reduction with a basic shell script that I've written. Next step, I'll show you the shell script. But what is important here is to understand the solution that we have designed, right? So we have used shell script to optimize the cost. How? How did we optimize the cost? Jenkins logs, which are stored in the ELK stack, was great costing for the organization, huge cost for the organization. And the organization already set up Jenkins failure builds. Notifications are sent via Gmail and Slack. And organization is not using Jenkins logs for log analysis. So we said, let's move the Jenkins log to S3 buckets. And instead of using any plugins or extensions, our shell script will go to the Jenkins. It will be in the Jenkins server. It goes to the Jenkins directory, loops over all the Jenkins builds, loops over all the logs of Jenkins. And every day in the night, it publishes that log files to the S3 bucket. And in S3 bucket, we will make use of the lifecycle management so that older logs will go to Glacier or Deep Archive. Because of this, you can see at least 50% cost reduction. Okay, even when you try to add this project or add this task to your resume, this is how you can explain it. 50% cost reduction by introducing a shell script that moved the Jenkins logs from ELK stack to S3 bucket and made use of S3 lifecycle management. Cool. I hope everybody is clear on what we did here. So this is the shell scripting task for cost optimization. Now let's head to the shell script, and I will also share the shell script in the GitHub gist file. I'll provide the link in the description. So using that, you can also try this project at your end. I'm going to share every step in the demo. I'm going to share the script. So also try it out at your end. So for the purpose of demo, I installed Jenkins server on an EC2 instance. Let's say you're not aware on how to do it. Don't worry. we have a very detailed guide. So this is the repo Jenkins Zero to Hero, which I created as part of DevOps Zero to Hero series back then. Very popular, like it has 7K stars. So if you go to the README file of it, you can see step by step how to create EC2 instance, how to install Java, how to run the Jenkins server, how to expose the port, and how to access it on the browser. Everything is available. I'll put this link in the description and you can also create EC2 instance with Jenkins, just like me. Also, I created S3 bucket with name Jenkins Cost Optimization. No fancy thing, only basic S3 bucket. Just provided the name and clicked on create bucket name. Now, once we have both of this, what you need to do, the other prerequisite for this particular demo is that, as I explained here, for shell script to communicate to S3 bucket. Okay. So in this EC2 instance, we will install shell script, and for that to communicate with the S3 bucket, what is needed? AWS CLI. So just to explain you here, Jenkins is hosted on a EC2 instance. We will install shell script on that EC2 instance. And for that to communicate with the S3 bucket, this shell script should talk to the AWS APIs. For that, we need AWS CLI on this machine. So SSH to that machine. If you are installing Jenkins, you might have already SSH'd into it. And the command to install AWS CLI are again very simple. Just go to AWS CLI documentation, run this curl command. So this is the curl command where AWS CLI zip file is available. It will download the zip file. Just unzip the zip file. Okay. Once you unzip the zip file, run command sudo /AWS install. Now this will install AWS CLI for you. Verify that AWS version. Okay, it should return output like this. AWS -- version. Okay, it should return an output like this. Now, final step is run the AWS configure command. This is the final prerequisite. Abhishek, where can I get AWS access key ID and where can I get AWS secret access key? Go to your AWS account, click on security credentials and scroll down. You will see this section called access keys. Just click on create access keys and you will have both access key ID and secret access key. Enter, provide the default region as US East 1, default output format as JSON and done. We are good. Now we have all of the prerequisites as we discussed here. EC2 instance with Jenkins, S3 bucket, AWS CLI. Only thing that is left is to write the shell script. So what are we waiting for? Let's say vim vim. We will use the vim editor and call this as s3 upload.sh. Always start with shebang, right? And every time you write a shell script, it is important that you provide the metadata for the shell script. That is, who is the author of this shell script and why are you writing this shell script? Basically, a description to the script where you mention shell script to upload the Jenkins log files to S3 bucket. Okay, and you can also provide the version of this script. Okay, and finally, a email address to contact or anything else that you need. For now, this is good enough information we have provided about the script. So now, once we have the metadata for the script, let's start with writing the actual script. What is required for the actual script? As I told you, you need to first go to the Jenkins directory, look at all the builds in that directory, look at all the logs in that directory, and copy that to S3. So let's create a variable for Jenkins home directory. So we will just say Jenkins home as a variable, and this is where the Jenkins directory is on this machine. Similarly, let's also create a variable for S3 bucket name. So what is our S3 bucket name? Jenkins cost optimization. Cool. And what we will do is we will upload only today's logs to S3 bucket, as I mentioned. So we also need date, because using date, we will validate if we are uploading today's logs files or the log files are from yesterday. That will help us making the decision. We will only upload today's logs to Jenkins, and tomorrow again somebody will run the script, or cron will run the script, and tomorrow's logs will be uploaded again to S3 bucket. Perfect. Now anybody might run this script, and if they don't have AWS CLI installed, what happens? The script will fail to upload to S3 bucket. So we need a simple validation, that is, check if AWS CLI is installed on this machine or not. If AWS CLI is not installed, we will just say AWS CLI is not installed. Please install it to proceed further. And now it's time to write the for loop which we were talking about. I already have the complete script. So, this is the for loop script. Exact same script, just with some modifications. I will tell what are those modifications also, because there might be beginners and it might confuse them. So I'm trying to keep it simple. There is slightly advanced version that I provided them, which I'll tell at the end of the video. But let's understand what this for loop is doing. So first, this for loop is going to the jobs folder of Jenkins home. What is Jenkins home? Var lib Jenkins. This is the folder, as I showed at the beginning of the video. In this folder, you will have all your Jenkins jobs. In our Jenkins at this point, there is only one job called first job. Admin is the name that I provided. Credentials. Okay. So there is only one job. In organization, you will have like payments job, you will have catalogs job, you will have hundreds of other jobs, right? But right now there is only one. So Jenkins home jobs followed by all of these jobs. I'm keeping that in the loop so that jobs directory is a variable that holds the complete list of jobs. And on this, we will iterate, or we will loop over this jobs. If there is one job called first job, similarly, first job, second job, third job, n number of jobs, this loop will run n number of times. If there are 5 jobs, this loop will run 5 times. If there are 3 jobs, this loop will run 3 times. Okay, I'm just extracting the name of the job from the complete directory and the path. So now job name will just hold this particular job called first job. And within this job, there are builds, right? So again, we need another for loop. Why? Within the first job, I might have created, like if I go inside this, right? Currently, there is only one build log. What if I run one more time? Okay. If I run one more time, you will see another log, right? If I run one more time, you will see another build log. So again, even with why we are using two for loops here? The first for loop is for the jobs. Second for loop is for the log files or the build logs. If there are 3 logs, again, this loop should run 3 times. Once this is done, it will go to another job, and even in another job, if there are multiple logs, it will run multiple times. Okay, cool. So this is for the builds and this is for the log files. And within the log file, I'm just verifying, check if the log file exists and was created today. This is important validation. How I'm verifying? I'm taking the log file, I'm taking the date of the log file and comparing it with today's date. That is why I declared a variable here. If it is today's, simply run AWS S3 CP command and copy that log file to the bucket. And this is basically verifying if AWS S3 command passed or failed. Sometimes if the log file is very huge, okay, we have to use S3 part uploading feature, multi-part upload. But usually for Jenkins log, we might not need it. So that's why I just had a validation here. If the log file upload failed, then instantly we should go for multi-part upload feature of S3 bucket. Now let's run this and see. Okay, if I just say dot slash S3 upload.sh. Okay, first I need to grant permissions, chmod. For now, I'll just say 777 and dot slash S3 upload.sh. Okay, it failed for some reason. Let's see what happened. Usage AWS S3 CP local path S3 URI. Oh, okay. So it says that S3 URI is wrong. Let's go to the file. Where is my S3 URI? Where it is running AWS S3 CP command, and it is directly trying to upload to this particular thing, CP log file S3 bucket, where in the S3 bucket, what I need to do here is I need to provide S3 something like this, right? So S3 colon double slash, and let's put this, my bad. Let's put this in double quote. No problem. If there is an issue, we will fix it again. Let me try to run one more time. Uploaded, uploaded, uploaded. If there are 10 jobs and in each job, if there are 10 log files, this script would have run 100 times. We just have, understand carefully, we just have one job, and within one job, we have 3 log files. That's why the script ran 3 times. If there are, let's say, 100 jobs, for each microservice, one job, and every microservice, let's say there are 10 builds today. Okay, so this script would have run 100 multiplied by 10, which is 1000 times. 1000 logs would have been uploaded to S3 bucket today. Let's refresh and see. Perfect. So we have first job #1, which is one first log file. This is second log file. This is third log file. Similarly, second job, first file, second file, third file. You can try it out the same. Just create one more job here. Okay. And try to execute the script. You will see more log files uploaded to it. Now, what is the change that I have done? On top of it, I just added one more thing. That is, instead of uploading the log files like this, I created folders. For first job, one folder, second job, one folder, third job, one folder. That is for payments, catalogs, whatever is the name of the microservices. Each microservice will have a folder name here, and these files are uploaded to that folder. Right? So this is the only change that I have done, and also a simple cron job, one command, right? So this is how the cost optimization is done for this client. I'll share the complete script that you see here. Just modify the bucket name You need to just modify the bucket name here and you need to provide the AWS credentials and install Jenkins server. You can try this out at your on your machine. So I hope you found this video informative. I have taken a lot of effort to take one of my projects and show it to you, because a lot of people are asking for real time, basically from shell scripting. Abhishek, why we use shell script? Why not use Python? Lot of questions like this. And what is a real time, like real work that people do with shell script? So I think I have answered all of your questions, and I hope you found this video informative. Please let me know in the comment section. Like, that gives me a motivation. If you understood the task, is it useful or not? See you all in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.